Hi guys! I know you can't see me, but that's okay because today we're going to be talking about editing and publishing. That's a fancy author's word for writing the good copy of our acrostic poems. So at the end of our lesson yesterday, we were working really hard to fill in all the letters of our Earth or our Earth Day poem with phrases or ideas that started with the same letter. Now it's time, as good authors that we are, to edit our poems and make them even better. So we're going to need a highlighter. If you don't have a highlighter, you can use a light colored marker, that's just fine. You're also going to need a blue or a black pen and a copy of our brainstorming and acrostic poem, as well as a copy of the grade 3 writer's checklist and the good copy template for us to write our good copy of our poem on. So I'll give you a few moments. Pause the video here if you need to collect everything that you need for our lesson today. Let's get started. First, I need to decide what in my writer's checklist I want to focus on for editing my poem. I think that today I really want to focus on adding some details to my ideas and topics. I'm also going to reread my writing and make sure that it makes sense. When I'm writing my good copy, I'd really like to focus on making sure that my writing is legible and that others can always read it. So those are a couple of things that I want to focus on. Pause the video here and choose a couple of things that you want to focus on for editing your acrostic poem. Okay, let's get started. I want to start by adding details. Remember, adding details is all about sprucing up your poem and making it even more interesting to the reader. So you can do this by adding adjectives. You can do it by creating similes. Remember, similes are descriptions using like or as. For example, my mother had eyes as blue as the sky. Sprucing up or adding details is also about playing with language. So you can start to play with language here. Perhaps you're using single words for each letter and you have a great word that you want to try and use, but it doesn't start with any of the letters in Earth or Day. Try coming up with another word that means the same thing. For example, I went online and I used an online thesaurus. Thesaurus is a really cool resource that gives you a whole bunch of different words that mean the same thing. So when I went on to the online resource, I looked up planet because I had planet here and I know that nothing in Earth or Earth Day starts with P, so I can't put planet in there very well. So when I looked up planet, I came up with these really cool words. The first one was terrene, and I also came up with terrestrial body. Terrene and terrestrial body are the same thing as planet, but they would work better in my poem because they start with the letter T. If, on the other hand, you're using longer sentences or phrases similar to my own poem here, for each of the letters, you can change the order of the words so that the new sentence starts with the letter you need. For example, if you have brainstormed the phrase protect endangered animals, that was one, protect endangered animals, and you really want to focus on that, but you know that you can't use it again because there's a P and there's no P in our poem. So you can change the order of the words so your sentence reads something a little bit different, but has the same idea. For example, we have E here and we have A, so we can do something with endangered and animals. So maybe I want to say something along the lines of endangered animals need protection. Cool. That would fit right here in my E if I wanted to change that. Or maybe I could say something like animals can be endangered. And then I want to encourage people to take action. So I say something like, act right now. I like that phrase. I might use that in mine. I'm going to underline it there. Cool. All right, so now you have sentences that you could place either under the E or the A. And they all relate back to my focus on what I started brainstorming about Earth. Another way to add details is by looking over your brainstorm page and seeing if there's anything else that you wanted to include in your poem but you didn't. So when I go back to my brainstorming page up here, I noticed that I really wanted to talk about animals here. But I never actually, when I read through here, I never actually put anything into my poem about animals. So I think I'm going to try and focus on incorporating something like that. And because animals starts with A, I'm going to look down here and I have April is when we celebrate Earth Day. Well, maybe I don't actually need that because I think that looking after and preserving the earth should be done every day, not just once in a month or once in a year. So I'm going to just put a line through here because I don't really need this anymore. And I'm going to say something along the lines of animals and protecting animals. All right, so maybe I can say something like animals are affected by all kinds of pollution. Oh yeah, and then I also really liked this sentence here. So I'm going to put that into my two sentences here to make my A. So animals are affected by pollution, comma, act right now. Okay, awesome. And I've got my punctuation here because I really want to make an emphasis that everyone should be acting right now. It's really important. Okay, I also think that the earth is more than just the environment, and it includes so many different types of natural places of beauty that I want people to pay attention to. So at the end of my poem here, I think I'm going to change something and maybe add something to the end of this, help preserve our earth, because I really want people to be active in caring for the earth, and I want to emphasize the role that people should take in protecting and preserving it. So I'm going to change earth because I know that there's so much more to earth, and I'm going to say a natural world. Help preserve our natural world. And then to emphasize the role that humans are I could use act right now again, but maybe I can do a little bit different. Maybe I can focus on you can make a difference. There we go. Maybe that's encouragement for people to help change and preserve and look after our natural world. You can make a difference. So if I come to a long or challenging or a new word, remember, stretch out the sounds and write the sounds that you hear. If you're uncertain about how to spell it, just make sure that you put a line underneath it. Remember, we're editing our draft right now, so you can write and change things as much as you want. All right, so let's keep looking here. Earth is beautiful. Take environmental action. Everyone can do their part. Ooh, I like that. Animals are affected by pollution. Act right now. Yes. Reduce, reuse, recycle. That's the motto. You know what? I don't really think that we need this in the poem. It's pretty obvious that this is the motto. So I'm just going to cross that out. All I need to do is put one line through it. I don't need to scribble it out or anything. So when I'm making changes, just keep it as nice and neat as possible so that I can keep reading it. All right. So one more change that I want to make when I'm reading through this is thinking about smooth wording. So remember to the first day when we brainstormed things that we thought about when we heard the word poetry? Well, when I brainstormed about poetry, I thought about smooth wording. So I want to change the wording here about trees because this is really long and it kind of goes on. And I want to change the wording so that it flows more smoothly. And I know that trees, the job that they have is really important. And I remember that yesterday I was saying that that was something that I really wanted to put in here. So I really wanted to have something about their jobs, but I'm just not quite happy with how that came out. So I'm going to try and play with the language here and make it flow more smoothly. All right, so I think I'm going to put this over here. So instead of trees, because we've talked about trees, I'm going to say they. So they store carbon dioxide. Excellent. I like that. So I'm going to underline this. And I'm going to take it over here. And I'm going to go like this. Oh, and maybe I'll switch this around because trees are pretty cool. So I'm going to put that here. I'm going to say trees are cool and clean, and then I'm going to have they store carbon dioxide and keep our air clean. Maybe I can just say something like keeping the carbon dioxide out of our air. So I'm going to add the ing up there. If I want, I can put a little arrow going up, keeping it, because we know we're talking about carbon dioxide, keeping it out of our air. Awesome. Oh, and maybe, oh boy, okay, there's a lot of changes going on here. I think I'm going to put this as not a capital, and I'm going to have a bracket here and a bracket here, and then I'm going to take this, and just to remind me that it goes at the end, I'm going to put it down here. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of arrows and crosses over here, but that's okay because I understand. This is my editing for my poem, and I know. So as long as it's clear to you when you do your editing of where your ideas are supposed to go and how they're supposed to flow, then that's all right, however you mark up your poem. Just remember to reread your poem, especially when you start to do your good copy, because with all these changes and the edits, then you might get a little bit confused. But if we are constantly rereading and making sure that it makes sense, then we're going to end up with a poem that we are really proud of. Excellent. Okay, I'm pretty happy with the way my editing has taken place. I want you to pause the video here and work on editing your own poem too. Remember to pick 1 or 2 things that you want to focus on from your writer's checklist, then go through your poem to spruce it up. All right, once you're done your acrostic poem, I want you to get out your acrostic poem good copy page. So you're going to be writing out a good copy of your poem. So I'm going to have this here, and I'm going to take my pencil. Remember, we're not writing in black pen yet. So in the end, we're going to want to copy it over in black pen so it pops out of the page. But right now, we really want to write in pencil because if we make a mistake on our good copy, then we'll be able to change it. So I'm going to start by writing out my letters of Earth. And I do that in a vertical line. And now I'm going to start writing out my good copy. Earth is beautiful. Take your time. Make sure that your writing is nice and legible so that other people can read it. Make sure that you're spelling your words correctly, copying them down. Take environmental action. Everyone can do their part. Okay, so what do I want here? Just looking at my rough draft to make sure. Excellent, I want an exclamation mark. Animals are affected by pollution. Whoops, good thing I was writing in pencil. That way I can erase it easily. Animals are affected by pollution. Act right now. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to want to do once I've written out my whole poem is I'm going to want to take a black or a blue pen, and then I'm going to start copying over it. So I'm going to start copying over my poem really carefully in black or blue so it pops out of the page. Okay, and then I'm also going to want to, somewhere at the bottom, I'm going to want to start illustrating. So I'm going to want to illustrate last when I've finished writing all of this. I'm just going through this quickly so that you guys are able to see sort of what the process would be. And then I would have maybe a tree here, and I want my earth to be smiling and happy, and there's lots of stars around. You get the point. And then I would start to color it. Great, so here is the finished copy of my Earth Day acrostic poem. I look forward to reading your finished acrostic poem about Earth Day too. So at this time, I suggest that you pause the video again, work on publishing your good copy of your acrostic poem. Take your time. You have more time tomorrow to keep working on this. Write out your acrostic poem so it's legible. Make sure that you copy it over in black pen so it pops out, and then do an illustration at the bottom. And once you've done publishing your good copy, I encourage you to practice your poetry skills by writing another acrostic poem. There are copies of acrostic poems for spring in your home package, or you can choose to do your own topic. Remember, pick a topic, brainstorm as much about it as you can, and then place your ideas on each letter of the word or phrase. Be creative and have fun with your words.